Puckett EMS, and we are the only EMS service in this area that you would want to ask. You do have a choice. Call it.
I'm doing great, right?
Yeah, Hiram's doing great.
This is our Lucas device. And what this does when somebody's in cardiac arrest or we have to perform CPR and do chest compressions, we tire out after a while. After about 2 minutes, we get tired, and this continues going at the correct rate and depth, and keeps compressing the chest, frees up our hands to do other things, such as give medications.
Stop a minute.
Yeah, and we can pause it if we need to. We can give ventilations now, and it can resume. This, we carry one of these on every ambulance. This is a IPAC 15. This is our cardiac monitor. You have EKG electrodes, which we can look at heart rhythms in the field. These hook up to the patient, and this also is a defibrillator. So if a person needs a shock to their heart to restart it, we can attach those pads to the patient and defibrillate them. There's also has a pacing feature on it where we can pace the heart as well. And blood pressure cuff, oxygen saturation.
It's always an honor for me to stand before all of you. This is indeed my favorite lunch of the year. And when I say it's an honor to stand before you, it's also very humbling to stand before the men and women of public safety that sit in this room today. So thank you and God bless you so very much. Before I go into the introduction of a speaker, I want to thank Philip Godfrey with Georgia Power and Ed Cahill with Greystone for always being there for our public safety event, for your sponsorship, for making sure that the grounds are ready, and last 2 years sponsoring this lunch as well. Thank you so very much for y'all's support and dedication to Paulding Public Safety Appreciation to our chamber. And I also want to give a word of appreciation to Puckett EMS for their contributions to this county. Steve, Jake, I think Wayne Dodd is somewhere in this room as well. As we've endeavored to grow public safety appreciation, they've been right there with us. A lot of our residents here in the county are employed by Puckett EMS. They've come on annually to help sponsor our event, and then this year are sponsoring again to help make the event for the 5th year in a row a success. So thank you for what you mean to our county, what you mean to our family. Consider you a part of our family. And I think the most honoring aspect of that is that one of our Rising Star scholarships is named in honor of Chad Leggett. And Chad Leggett was a very, very proud member of the Puckett family. So thank you very much for all the support that you give to us here in Paulding County. Now, as I introduce this gentleman, I was called by the chamber and asked if I could find a speaker for the afternoon. And I narrowed it down very, very quickly. And when I called Director Vernon Keenan, I left a voicemail. Within 10 minutes, he returned my call. And I had the great pleasure of getting to meet him in years past, but really getting to know him this year at the Capitol. He's very involved in the legislature. I don't know if he regulates what we're trying to do down there, but he definitely keeps us on our toes, and I think it's a great presence to have the director of our Georgia Bureau of Investigation present when we're making laws that affect the citizens of the state of Georgia. But I want to say that on January 18, 2011, Governor Nathan Deal reappointed Vernon M. Keenan as director of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. As GBI director, Vernon Keenan is the leader of a state criminal investigative agency with over 822 employees and a budget of $74.6 million. The GBI is comprised of 3 divisions: the State Crime Laboratory, the Georgia Crime Information Center, and the Investigative Division. Mr. Keenan began his career in law enforcement as a police officer with the Cobb County Police Department in 1972 and 73. In July of 73, he became a GBI special agent assigned to Northwest Georgia. In 1996, he managed the GBI's participation in planning security for the Olympic Games. After his promotion to GBI director, Keenan served as a member of the State Homeland Security Central Command responsible for public safety, the facilitation of law enforcement, and coordination of state personnel during the G8 summit at Sea Island. Director Keenan has participated in professional exchange programs in Israel, China, Spain, Germany, Turkey, the Republic of Georgia, and the United Kingdom. All of which languages he speaks as well. I'm just kidding. And he is the chairman of the Privacy Committee of the Criminal Intelligence Coordinating Committee. Director Keenan received his Bachelor of Science degree from Valdosta State College in 1972. In addition, he is a graduate of the 117th session of the FBI National Academy in 1979. In 1997, he graduated from the Georgia Chiefs of Police Command College with a master's degree in public administration from Columbus State University. He is the proud recipient of numerous awards, most notably 2008 Outstanding Georgia Police Chief of the Year by the Georgia Chiefs of Police Association. I think most notable, though, I think he's probably most proud of this. He's an Eagle Scout. So thank you very much for your dedication. He's been married to his wife since 1972, Miss Joan Thomas Keenan, who hails from St. Mary's, Georgia. They live in Cherokee County and have 2 sons, Mac and Jackson. And let me say this, when he called me back, he said, without giving a time or a date, I explained a little bit about what the lunch was about, what our chamber does. And thank you very much to our chamber, Carolyn, Susan, Yolanda, Kevin, all of you over there that make it a point to have this day, to recognize our heroes in Paulding County. And I told him a little bit about that, and before I could even give him the details, he said I'd be honored to come to Paulding County and join with all of you. So, in response to that, let's give him a warm Paulding County welcome to the Director of the Georgia.
Thank you, Representative Gravely. My mother's never around when somebody's saying something nice about me. I've been with the GBI for 40 years. I'm the example, if you stay that long with the agency, you become the director because you outlasted everyone else in the agency. My mother is 89, and I started out to be a history teacher, and she keeps telling me that I should cut out this foolishness of being a law enforcement officer and come back to Waycross, Georgia and teach history. Perhaps you've got a mother like that. I am honored to be here, and I was asked what did they want me to speak on. They said it was my choice. I said, great, because I got a few things I want to say to you. I want to point out why it's so important that the Chamber of Commerce and other civic business groups support public safety in your community and in this state. In the United States, there are over 800,000 law enforcement officers. And those officers work in 18,000 separate law enforcement agencies. See, in this country, unlike some of the other countries that I've gone and worked with my counterparts in, we do not have a national police. All law enforcement, all public safety in this state and in this nation is at the community level. There's no national police. FBI is not a national police. Georgia does not have a state police. So what's most important to all the members in here, the community, the most important law enforcement agency, the most important public safety agencies to you is who comes when you call 911. It's not going to be the FBI, it's not going to be the Secret Service, it's not going to be the GBI, nor the State Patrol. It's going to be the Municipal Police Department, it's going to be the Sheriff's Department. So that is what should be of paramount importance to you. And that's the reason why it's so important that you support your local public safety, your local law enforcement, because that is who is responsible for your public safety. Now, as the GBI director, I have the ability to look out across the state and see what is occurring in the public safety arena, because there are nearly 700 law enforcement agencies in the state of Georgia, and the GBI works with every single one of them. That's our mission. Our job is to provide support and assistance to local law enforcement. So I work with all of them. And I hope the members of the community appreciate the high level of professionalism that you have in Paulding County. Because when I look out across the state, not every sheriff's department comes near having the professionalism of the Paulding County Sheriff's Department, nor the Dallas Police Department or the Hiram Police Department. There's many areas there needs to be improvement. But your public safety in this county works together. If there's any infighting going on, it's not evident at the state level. So I'm darn proud to work with each and every one of these law enforcement agencies. But because I can look out across the state, there's a couple of things I want to point out to you of what Vernon Keenan, as director of the GBI, sees and what is occurring in crime in the state of Georgia. And this will relate down and impact on what is occurring here in Paulding County. For one thing, across the United States in the past decade, there is a decrease in violent crime. And in the state of Georgia, in the past decade, we've had a 5% decrease in violent crime. Now, other parts of the country have had greater decreases. But this state has grown in size. We're the 9th largest state in the nation. So we've had a decrease in crime. Now what this means is that because there is a decrease in crime, there is not the public awareness of the crime problems the way they have been in the past. There has been a tendency to cut budgets of local public safety agencies, of state agencies. So as we're having a decrease in crime, we've had budget cuts. Here's the problem. 5% decrease in violent crime, yes, it's coming down. But what's occurring over here is the complexity of crime is increasing. There are more demands now on the Paulding County Sheriff's Department than there have ever been before. And on the Dallas Police Department, Hiram Police Department, and the other municipalities here. Complexity of crime, because what we deal with, everything we deal with in law enforcement now involves technology. Many of the crimes that we're called on to respond to, the perpetrator is not even physically in the state. Sometimes they're in another country. So we've got a decrease in crime, but a complexity of crime. So what has happened? The face of crime has changed, and there are more demands. It requires more training now to be a law enforcement officer than it ever has been. When I started out as a special agent in 1973, the training was minimal then. And with many other public safety officials, that was the same. We've seen a lot of improvements in this. When I was a young agent here, Bill Foster was the district attorney. He goes on to become judge. So we hated to leave him as a prosecutor, but he became a great judge. Grown up with a lot of people in this county. A couple other points I want to talk about. They have had, in the dangers associated with law enforcement are greater now than they have ever been. In the United States, an officer dies in the line of duty every 53 hours. Thus far this year in the United States, we've had 66 officers have died in the line of duty. 3 here in Georgia. Georgia is number 6 in the nation in the number of officers who die in the line of duty. The 9th largest state, but 6th in the number of officers dying. And I'm talking about deaths of officers, but that does not give us the true picture of violence which is directed against our public safety officials. I can see this because the GBI investigates most of the officer-involved shootings that occur in Georgia. With the exception of the largest metro Atlanta agencies, we work all of the other ones in the state. Worked one this morning in Fulton County Police Department. Officers involved in a shootout with a felon. The officer shot. He survives. He's wearing a bulletproof vest. Perpetrator's dead, but we do the investigation. Here's what I see as GBI director. Our agency each week works 1 to 2 police shootings a week somewhere in the state of Georgia. And it's not the suburbs, just the suburbs, or the metro Atlanta, it is rural Georgia. One weekend, a couple of months ago, we had 4 police shootings. And these are instances where the officers are fired upon, and then they engage the perpetrator. There's no officer death here. But giving you the number of police shootings and give you a picture of the level of violence that exists out there is directed towards our law enforcement. So as we go through budget cuts and we see diminishing resources, it's necessary that the community understand demands on their public safety officials and why they need the support and why appreciation days such as you're having here today are so important. A couple other points I want to make about what I see across the state of Georgia's crime problem. One of the things that we're dealing with, GBI operates the medical examiner system for the state of Georgia. Only law enforcement agency in the United States, Judge Foster, has responsibility for the medical examiners. We do over 3,000 autopsies a year. 14 board certified forensic pathologists work at our agency. But what that does, it gives me the opportunity to look out about what the type of cases that we're doing autopsies on. And as it relates to drug deaths, what we find is we've got 6 times more people dying from prescription drug overdoses than from illegal drugs. And last year we had 520 persons die from prescription drug deaths, only 72 with illegal drugs. And I know our EMS people are seeing this because they're responding to the drug overdoses. Not everyone dies, but it still requires demands on public safety where fire and EMS are responding to persons who've overdosed with drugs. That's something we got to deal with. Many of the persons that are dying are middle-aged, middle-class citizens. They're getting addicted to oxycodone, hydrocodone, and other prescription drugs. And the marginal for toxicity is very low, so they overdose and they die. The other area we're dealing with, synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic drugs. And the fact that I can say cannabinoids will give you an idea how often I have to speak about this. The spice, the K2, and all these other drugs. We're working many overdose cases of those. Here's the problem. And I've met with many of the Georgia legislators who were attempting to outlaw these drugs, synthetic cannabinoids. Quite frankly, no one has an answer how to do this. I've met with 8 other state crime laboratories to try to come up with what is the legislative approach to outlaw synthetic cannabinoids. Well, the problem is you can't. There are literally thousands of combinations of the compounds that can be made. And each time that the legislature passes a law outlawing specific substances, well, the drug dealers, the manufacturers turn right around and they come up with a new compound. So what we're doing now, our laboratory is working wide open. Every time that we identify a new synthetic drug, the lab identifies it, and then we go to the governor, who writes a letter to the pharmacy board, and then they do an emergency rule outlawing that substance. Not criminally, because only the legislature can do that, but we do it administratively. That's going to continue to be a major problem, a struggle we're going to have to go through. And I think it's going to be incumbent upon all of us to educate our young people on the dangers of synthetic drugs. Last issue I want to point to. This is an emerging crime. This is going to affect fire, it's going to affect EMS, it's going to affect law enforcement. That's elder abuse. The abuse of elderly people and disabled adults. That is a grossly underreported crime. It is now just manifesting itself of how rampant it is of elderly persons who are disabled, that are being exploited financially, sexually, physically, emotionally. And as our population in this state continues to grow older, and as we do more public education and training for law enforcement, EMS, fire services on this issue, we'll have more reports. It is a very demanding crime. When you go in and serve a search warrant at a elderly care facility, it requires law enforcement, social services, EMTs, the whole gamut to do that. But this is something we've got to prepare for because the crime is upon us. It's a tidal wave that we're fixing to face. Now, I want to close out by saying to the Chamber of Commerce and the other public officials that are here, as a professional public safety executive, I want to thank you for the support that you're giving to your community public safety staff. It is extremely important that they know you support them, you understand how difficult their job is, and that you continue to give them support as you have. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to be with you.